Hi guys. I'm jumping on a little early because my live looks a little bit different. It's not showing me the entire screen, so I'm wanting to make sure I'm in full camera view. Today I decided to go live with mobility and stretch. You will need a lacrosse ball or a tennis ball for today's mobility. I will include some stretching. And I can also show you a couple things you can do. It won't be as intensive without a ball, but I can try to include that as well. An idea that if you do not have a lacrosse ball, you can get them on Amazon really cheap. Usually Target has them off and on in stock. You can also take a small washcloth, roll it up real tight, fold it in half, and duct tape it. But the best, cheapest, easiest way, if you have a tennis ball, that'll be your easiest bet for this lacrosse session. We're going to start on all fours. We're going to move, make sure our wrists are directly beneath our shoulders, knees are beneath the hips, and just kind of begin to move through cat and cow. If you're coming right from a class, perfect. If you're coming right from your chair, you want to take your time with this one. Don't just go into some really big movements. Maybe shake it around. Flatten out the feet, kind of shift that weight side to side. See what your body's going to tell you. Let your body kind of guide you on the movement. And when you feel like you're getting in more into the flow, start adding that breath. Today we'll be adding some mobility followed by a stretch. So we'll lacrosse ball. We'll do some movement and some stretching. Kind of a combination of both. When you're ready, I want you to take your right hand, take your fingertips up behind the right side ear, right ear, and open up gently. Let your gaze follow that elbow as you come and bring that elbow down, meet the left arm, and open it up again. Pausing there at the top. So we are starting in that thoracic area. Stays pretty tight for those of us that have to work on a computer. Hold this one up, take that right hand and take it around the back behind you. And then pull that right elbow back towards the left. Taking a nice shoulder and chest stretch here. And release. Go ahead and give me a couple cat-cows just to release that back. And we'll move through to the left side. Place your left hand over your left ear and open up. Take your gaze up towards that left elbow and let's bring that elbow down towards that right arm. And down. And down. Last one here, we're gonna hold. Look over that elbow, and when you're ready, take that left hand back behind you. Opening up the chest, placing that hand against that hip. And release. Hands come down. And give me a couple cat-cows here, rounding up through the shoulders. And release. Go and grab your lacrosse ball. I'm going to show you, we're going to start here at the top. Right up through the trapezius where a lot of us are going to be tight. Again, you can always place something fairly firm or round up a small hand towel. Even a small hand towel would feel good. Give you a little bit of pressure release. We're going to roll back slowly onto our back. Take your lacrosse ball. Place it under that notch, right where you can really grab. So it's right there, almost at the neck and the shoulder base where they meet. When you place the lacrosse ball there, sometimes this is all you need. You feel that pressure. Now push into your heels of your feet. So pushing back into that ball. Right here may be enough for you. Good. So if you need a little more, start lifting those hips up off of the floor. Pushing the heels into the floor, we're just creating more pressure right there. Make sure your ball is not rolling over the scapula tip. We're just going back this way, away from that scapula tip. You may be pressing sort of towards it. You don't want to pinch anything. And as you exhale, lower those hips down. We're going to go up one more time. If you can join me, or you can stay right here, pushing the feet away from you, allowing that pressure to push into that ball and lift your hips. Go ahead and release, bring those hips down. Now I'm going to walk it towards the spine, and I want you to be very cautious with the spine. So we're going, it's a little tricky up in the scapula area. You've got to find that little niche of muscle or soft tissue. We're not going on the scapula itself, and we're not going on the spine. So there's just this little area right in here where I'm going to tuck that ball. If I squeeze my shoulder blades together and move it towards the left side, that's where I'm going. Go ahead and roll down. Get your ball in position. Make sure you're not feeling any numbness, tingling, shooting pain. And then just relax that head down. This may be right where you stay, and that's okay. Place your feet into the floor, pull those abs in, lift those hips, and drive back a little bit on that ball. Now you'll have some discomfort as in muscle pressure, but you should not have any pinching, shouldn't have any tingling or any pain that's traveling. You'll need to come off of that right away. And I'm going to lift up and kind of roll down my spine, moving more towards the middle of my scapula. Not in my scapula, sorry, middle of my back. But I'm still on the left side of my spine. Oh my gosh, that feels so good. Hold here. I don't like to create movement in this area unless you know what you're doing. If you want to create just a little rock by lowering the hips and lifting, you can do so, but make sure you're not trapping something over the edge of that scapula. Lower those heels down. Oh my goodness, yes. I'm going to reach back, grab my ball. Now I'm starting at that same notch right at the neck and the shoulder base on my back on the right side. So ball goes right in that area. Another way to describe this is that area where you're like, oh my gosh, my neck. People just pinch on it, they grab on it, and that's usually where they say their tension is. If they say, oh, my shoulders even, they're like, go and they grab there. That's where we're headed. So find that place, and then we're going to pull those abs in. If you want to stay with your bottom down, pressing the feet into that floor, driving you back into that ball, that's a great way to do it, or lift those hips. And hold. Letting those arms rest beside you, opening up through the chest as well. It's letting everything melt into that ball. And let's lower the hips. And we're going to lift those hips one more time if you're going with me. And release, lower those hips down. Grab that ball, place it on the right side of what we just did on the left, which is right in that little niche area, right between the spine and the tip of the scapula and the top of our back. And then set the head down. Arms rest beside the body, and this may be enough pressure. If it is, stay right here. If you're wanting to add a little more, we're going to lift those hips up. I'm going to create just a little bit of massage movement by lifting and lowering my hips, pushing out of my heels, just kind of creating a massage. But be careful. If you feel it roll over that tip of the scapula, back away from that area and stay on soft tissue. And release, lower those hips down. Lift off of that ball, come up, release. All right, we're going to begin to rock our lower legs, like we have higher legs, I guess it would be lower limbs. We're going to rock our knees right to left. And then I want you to hold the knees towards the left. So I'm not dropping them all the way. I've got them close enough together. If you notice, I still have one leg up. I'm not folding all the way over. I'm trying to create a stretch, just a little mini stretch here and here. Because we're going to the lower back next. Drop those knees slightly towards the left. Hang them there. So when moving to the lower back with the cross ball or whatever tool that you're using, you want to stay away from the spine. If you have a bulging disc, you'll want to even be more cautious and play it further out to the side. I'm going to roll probably about 2 finger widths away from my spine and really work on hitting those muscles that go in and attach right there at the L4, L5. So I'm going to tilt to the side to show you, but how I want you to position your ball is you'll go up into a bridge and then slowly lower down in that position. I'm going to show you by placing my ball about right there. Oh, I think that's the magic spot. So bring those feet back to center, knees back to center, and kind of feel this pressure out. You're going to drive back in those heels. You can move this ball out to the outside of your waist, or you can move it vertical up and down by rocking through those heels. Just kind of get a little movement in there, see what feels best. I'm going to kind of make a plus sign. I'll do some vertical and I'll do a little bit of horizontal. If you find that this is not enough pressure, we can cross your legs and place that weight a little further into that left side. Oh, yes. When you find a spot that's maybe tight or tense, hang in that spot. Even drop the hips a little bit. If you drop the hips to the floor with the leg cross, you're going to add a lot of pressure, though. That is fair warning. And I'm going to roll off of it. And I'm going to come lift up into your bridge position, grab your ball, and let's go to the other side. Placing that ball, again, at least a finger width or 2 finger widths away from the spine. We'll start with our hips on the floor. The ball is on the right side of the spot, low spine, right above the hips or the butt. And then if you're feeling pretty comfortable, you can lift those hips up and begin your movement. Just try to stay away from rolling on top of that spine. I'm going to make that plus and minus sign like I told you about, some vertical up and down, and then I like really rolling out, getting into that side. I'm going to cross my left foot over my right, and I'm going to hang right in that spot where I feel some tension. And then I'm going to drop my hips to the floor. If all that's too intense, back off and stay where you were with your hips lifted. Roll those knees back to center. Uncross your legs. If you have them crossed, lift those hips up. And I want you to walk your feet wide this time for windshield wipers. Driving and dropping slowly those knees side to side. I'm going to stop and pause here on this left side, get a nice stretch through my hip flexor. You can actually take your hands, place them right about 2 fingers from that pelvic, inside that pelvic notch, and pull up just on the skin, just slightly. Then drop that knee, and you'll feel just a little slight more tension there. The hip flexor goes in pretty deep here, so you're not literally pulling on the hip flexor. You're pulling on the tissues on top of it, and it lengthens it just a little bit more. And switch. Let's go to the other side. 2 fingers right inside that pelvic notch, sort of right above that crease. I'm going to pull up and dropping that right knee. Like I said, it's not a huge difference, but it is a big difference. It ends up being a big difference for me. And let's roll those knees back to center. Pull those knees into the chest. We're going to move towards the glute. Caution on your glute. If you have any piriformis syndrome or you have sciatic issues, then I definitely want you to stay on the outer rim of the cheek. Do not go towards the middle of the cheek. If you have sciatic concerns, you don't want to pinch up that nerve and get it acting up or flared up at this time. I'm going to start right about there. I'm going to roll back from my glute bridge, lift my hips slightly, and just start making some movement. Right, it's like creating that arch over the top of your glute. Some consider this even the low back. I've had people tell me, oh, my low back's bothering me, and I end up, looking at where they're rubbing, and it's the glute med. I'm rolling out to the outside of my hips, pushing into that. Again, it's a little too much. Oh, I think I can do it. You can cross your legs here. It takes it up a big notch. So be prepared for that. I'm going to move my ball a little further inward. Now I'm going closer to the sits bone. Well, this is where you want to be careful. You're not going in on that bone. You're staying in the meaty part of the butt. Oh, and again, this will be a tender area. Do not get crazy in here. Just kind of breathe with it. Roll through that glute, pushing off in that left hip. And we're going to release. Go up into a glute bridge. Take that ball over to the top higher end of your glute on that right side. Now I'm going to lean a little into that right glute. Oh my goodness. Rolling in and out on that ball. If you want a little more pressure, if you're feeling brave today, you have no nerve pain, cross that leg if you'd like. I'm going to lift up my hips. I'm moving that ball just a little bit lower. I'm going to cross on this one and just create some movement. Go ahead and glute bridge up. Send those hips up. Hold here just momentarily. And then let's lower down slow. Right ankle over that left thigh. If you cannot do the number 4 stretch, you could do a pigeon stretch. You could do a seated legs crossed like this stretch. Choose what stretch feels best for you. Pulling that knee in towards the chest. Drive that left foot back. Relax through those shoulders. Drive those elbows down. We don't want to hold on to any tension in the upper body while we stretch the lower. I'm going to walk my right foot over my left thigh a little bit more. I'm going to hit a little deeper in that glute, and then I'm going to drive back in a big squeeze. Go ahead and release. Send that left foot down to the floor. Left ankle over right thigh. Lift it up. Dropping those shoulders. Pay close attention to your breath here. Make sure you're not holding or clenching your teeth. Taking nice, big, deep breaths as we stretch, mobilize those muscles. Let's take that left foot and leg over and drive in a little harder into that chest. Go ahead and set those feet down on the floor. Go ahead and rock the knees side to side. We're going to get a little bit into our hip flexors, and then we'll finish it up. Go ahead and roll onto your stomach. If you're not using a lacrosse ball and you're using a firm pillow, I'll move you right in through stretching on this one. Again, where I had you grab and pull up, that's where I want you to place the lacrosse ball. It ends up kind of being right here. If that's a sensitive area, you can move it on down and move more into the quad. I'm going to place mine. And then I'm just going to begin to pull that right heel up. Driving that pelvis into the floor or into your ball more like it. You can create a little movement just to find that spot. Being cautious of what you're feeling. You notice that your lacrosse ball, you're not able to get much in this position. You can always place it on a yoga block or on something just a little higher, but you want to be very careful. We're going to switch sides now. I'm going to go into that left side. Begin to bring that heel up if you haven't already. And release. Let's walk those elbows back. Let's drop into a child's pose. Move that lacrosse ball out of the way. Let's take a brief pause here, lengthening out the spine. And let's move into a hip flexor stretch. Let's take our left foot out. Our right leg goes back. Driving that chest forward and up. Feel that nice lengthening on that back leg. Pull those shoulders away from the ears, pulling that head out. Don't want a turtle head here. We want to lift that chest up. Now, if you would like to add on and you have a belt or a towel handy, you can reach back, grab that foot, and lean forward. We're getting a nice deep quad stretch as well here. Go ahead and release. If you'd like, walk that left foot out to the side of your mat. If you want to come down to those forearms, you can come down to the forearms, or you can stay right up here. Just taking it for a little wider positioning, more like a lizard stretch. And release. Walk those hands back, take that pressure off that right leg. And let's switch. Right leg goes forward, left leg goes back. Lifting through that chest, driving those arms, shoulders down, away from your ears. You're going to try to reach back and grab that left foot. Go for it. And release. Walk that right foot out to the side of your mat. Drop those forearms down or stay up. You can let that front leg out just a little bit. It can kick out here. Just be cautious of the ankle. Make sure we're not rolling completely on the outside of that ankle. Release, walk back up on the hands. Drop that right leg back. Knees go wide. Let's take one last child's pose here. Allow that chest to sink to the floor and walk your fingertips further out away from your hips. Almost in a puppy pose so we can get into that chest a little more. And release. Let's do one more seated stretch. Come to your knees. Let's take your palms into the low back. Pull those elbows back and together. Lift through that chest. A deeper pose of the stretch would be here, getting a little bit of lumbar extension. I'm not going to take that one. Stay right here. Remember to take many breaks throughout the day, pulling those elbows back and opening up that chest. It's going to help solve some shoulder impingement problems that may come your way if you stay in that forward posture too long. Have a blessed Thursday. Thank you for joining me.